It's one of those Sundays. The toolbox. I like to think of my life as having a toolbox in it, my spiritual toolkit. And so when there's something that I want to address in my life, let's go with a challenge. I go to my spiritual toolkit and I say, what can I use? What's in your toolkit? What's in here? So what often happens is, okay, let's take what I'm seeing in the world as the issue that I want to address today. Who else sometimes is challenged by what you're seeing in the world today? Pretty much everybody, and I know those who didn't raise your hands were just resting. So you really were raising your hands too. And what I'll do is I'll probably end up with my default tool. I'll go back to what I'm always good at. So let's see, with what I'm seeing out in the world, I might decide to use my power of power, my voice, to speak about it, to talk about it, to be strong about it, but to use that. So I'm going to use my tool of power, and let's see, oh, here's a little bigger tool of power, so I'm going to keep talking about it, and I'm probably going to post a few things on Facebook about it, and then I'm going to talk about it some more with my friends, and then I'm going to read a lot about it, and I'm just going to be continuing to pull out power wrench after power wrench after power wrench. So this is what's in my arsenal. It is a bunch of power wrenches. And eventually I find out that it's not really working so well. And I look and I go, oh, wait a minute. I didn't know that this thing did this. It lifts up. And would you know, there's a whole bunch more tools in there. Wait a minute. And they're different tools. Oh, maybe that's my tool of faith, and maybe that's the tool of strength that Megan talked about, and there's a little bit of will, and before you know it, my gosh, there's 12 of them. Can you believe it? 12 different powers in my spiritual toolbox. And really that's just the beginning. Today, we're focusing on the 12 powers. Do we have any 12 power experts in the room? Any 12 power experts? Okay, who's familiar with the 12 powers? A little bit. How many have never heard of the 12 powers? Brand new for some of us. This is a way of looking at your spiritual attributes. The powers, the attributes, the faculties, the facilities, the abilities that you have on the spiritual realm. And you already have them within you. You may or may not be aware of them. So you're either using them unconsciously or consciously. But you're using them all the time because you came in programmed with them. We all have powers of imagination. We all have love within us. We all are these things. And to be powerful at them, it helps to be aware of them and to know more about them and how to use them. And since there's 12 of them, we're not going to be able to get through that in one Sunday, so we're going to spend 2 Sundays on the 12 powers. As a matter of fact, we're going to spend 3 Sundays. This week and next week, we're going to talk about the 12 powers, and the week after that, Reverend Tom Wendt is going to be here speaking specifically on the power of will. So you'll get an in-depth look at that. And this is part of a 5-week series on the basics of unity. And last week, we talked about God and ourselves and our divine nature. And that's the first 2 principles of unity, understanding God and ourselves. So this week, we're moving on to principles 3, 4, and 5. How do I think? How do I pray? And how do I act in this world? And the answer is by using my 12 powers. So let's do that with a little more wisdom. Let's do that more consciously. And probably we all need help with some of these tools. And so I was thinking, gosh, who could I get to help me with the 12 powers? Boy, it sure would be nice if I had a licensed Unity teacher that I knew that could help me with it. What? Nancy Lady Jacqueline! My licensed Unity teacher from over 20 years ago from Fox Valley Unity. Welcome, Nancy Lady. I am so blessed up here preaching with me. She is the woman who taught me way back when I started on the SEE path. So I took many a class from Nancy. We've remained friends all these years, and she's now coming here with her wonderful husband, Dick. Dick's in the purple shirt. Give us a wave there, Dick. Thank you. And as I was talking about this, and she's back in the area up from Florida, I said, we just have to play together. We have to come up with some things. So we have been busy like little bees this week, talking and working off of each other and getting excited again, more excited than we were before about the 12 powers. So I am now going to turn it over and let Nancy share her deep, deep wisdom as a teacher.
Oh, kids, I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for being with us this morning. Elizabeth is one of 12 people who I've taught SEE to who have become ministers. And she is one of my favorites. As we were talking about what were we going to do this together, I shared one of my personal opinions, and that is that one of the seminal moments in the creation of the Unity movement occurred when Myrtle Fillmore, one of our co-founders, caught fire to just 12 words. Let me explain. As many of you may know, Myrtle Fillmore had tuberculosis. It was something her whole life she had been told that she inherited, and sure enough, she manifested it. As she was progressing into the end stages of this hideous disease, she and her husband, Charles, I am sure, went about actively and widely seeking answers and guidance of how to understand and how to deal with her impending death. I invite you to imagine with me how she may have been physically. Because the lungs are deteriorating, it would have been a struggle for her to inhale or to exhale breath. As a result of that, her major organs were not being oxygenated, and she was slowly suffocating. So I have absolutely no doubt that this was a divine appointment when, during a lecture on metaphysics, Myrtle Fillmore heard these 12 words, and she heard them with her whole being. Those words are, I am a child of God, therefore I do not inherit sickness. Let's do that again. I am a child of God, therefore I do not inherit sickness. The fascinating thing about these 12 words is we can embed at the very end of that whatever we're experiencing. Limitation, difficult relationships, loneliness, whatever. And I really do believe that as she heard those 12 words, her soul activated all 12 of her powers. The same powers that you and I have inherited from our divine Creator. And unquestionably, as they continued to fire and cascade throughout her being, she unerringly was led over the next 2 years to completely heal from this hideous disease. And at the time Myrtle was experiencing this and demonstrating it, her husband Charles was observing it and found a way in which to define it for us. The 12 powers.
From this book, The 12 Powers, which we are sold out of in the bookstore right now, but we are ordering more, hopefully to be here next week. Here's what Charles says to us. Jesus was the star actor in the greatest drama ever played on earth. This drama was developed in the celestial realm, its object being to inject new life into the perishing of people. Herein is set forth the metaphysical idea of the spiritual quickening of humans on the human plane and the transformation into the divine. So the 12 powers are to quicken spiritual personality, the spiritual nature of you, to move beyond simply the physical human into the realm of heaven on earth. The 12 powers were the way to do that. So this is not a miracle or the fiat of God. but the gradual refinement of people of flesh into people of spirit. This isn't instantaneous. This isn't something that God just takes the big magic wand and knights you as now a spiritual person, but this is a gradual study, awakening, and development of our spiritual faculties. As Paul taught, this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put away immortality. And then he goes on to say, the subconscious realm in people has 12 great centers of action. 12 great centers of action. And this means that the person is developing out of mere personal consciousness into spiritual consciousness, and she or he begins to train on the deeper and larger powers. This is conscious. This is acknowledging and realizing that you have a toolbox to work with. This doesn't happen necessarily by default. You may stumble upon some of this, but by pulling out a book like this, or the yellow handout in your bulletin, which has the 12 powers listed in a way that you can remember them, by working with this list consciously is where we make the greatest shifts.
Elizabeth mentioned this handout. As a product of a parochial upbringing, those grammar teachers would have really been unhappy with this. As you can see, the mnemonic is powerful. And this is a listing of these 12 powers that Charles so well defined and Myrtle so fully embodied. I can't imagine that this is the order in which she experienced them, because I have a feeling they all kind of fired together. But we're going to go through it so we honor the mnemonic. First is this imagination. This is our conceiving, picturing capacity. It is that formative power of our minds that shapes our thoughts into mental images. We are doing this constantly. We can do this for good, we can do this for ill. A lot of it depends on what's firing underneath these thoughts. Obviously, with Myrtle's flash of insight, she extols to us and gives us the example, if you will, of the highest use of imagination. For it powerfully shaped her thoughts so she could recognize and visualize her true nature as she exists in the divine idea, as we all exist in the divine idea. There's our faculty of strength. This is our capacity for dependability, stability and endurance, courage and confidence while staying in integrity. This was one of Jesus' most powerful powers, in that he was steady in his truth, living his truth. So in those 12 words, Myrtle expressed a calm, single-minded, God-centered, balanced attitude of mind that led her to a steadfast, courageous, enduring, and confident path to fully embody her spiritual awareness, her eternal truth, and to be a beacon for all of us on how it is we too can become fully that Christ-like. You know, this is one of those powers that we can riff off of Myrtle's 12 words. For example, if we are having some kind of a challenge in our lives, we can say and affirm, believing it, I am a child of God, therefore I do not inherit limitation of any kind. As a child of God, I have boundless courage and confidence to grow into the most complete expression of the Christ that I am here to be. Take a breath with me, if you will. Really powerful stuff, which leads us right into the power of power. That's our gift that enables us to have authority over our thoughts and feelings. This is all a process of left brain and right brain, thoughts and feelings. This gives us the capacity to speak words of truth and to take actions in support of those words of truth. Myrtle fully realized this power within her, and she not only spoke these words and shared these words with others, her actions manifested her oneness and subsequently her healing. Elizabeth, is there?
And often it is a health challenge that wakes us up to the fact that there is something that we need to do different in our lives. It wakes up these powers in us very often. And last week, I shared this story about my husband Arturo when he was in the hospital and his heart rate was going 240 beats a minute. And while he is not someone who normally uses God language, he found himself laying on a hospital gurney saying, God loves me and I love God. God loves me and I love God. Over and over and over again. That was his affirmation, like Myrtle's affirmation. And so he was using the power of power with his words. It was important for him to say that to himself, like Myrtle said it to herself over 2 years as she healed. And that may be what we need to do over and over again, is to claim whatever truth it is that we have lost sight of. And I had a powerful experience with that as well. One of the most difficult times in my life was over 20 years ago when I went through a divorce. And it was one of the, if not the most painful time in my life. And now I can talk about it easily, but at that time I lost every Christ thought about myself. I didn't think I was worthy at all. I was depressed. I was angry. I didn't think I had any identity outside of being a wife. And my mantra became, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. I was a runner at that time, and I remember running for miles, only saying, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And that was my shorthand version of loving myself, of affirming the truth of me, of letting God in, of using the power of my spoken word. That was all I could do. I couldn't do anything fancy, but I could tell myself over and over again, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And that's what got me through.
Thanks, John. We have the power of order. This is our ability to know what is important and how to establish and maintain worthy priorities, and then to take the proper actions in support of those priorities. I think unconsciously, Myrtle put God first in her 12 words. I am a child of God. So she fully established herself in the harmony, balance, and spirit-guided thinking that she could so easily cooperate with, trust in, and then embody in the right sweet sequence of action to realize her growth without struggle. You plant a seed. If it's a parsley seed, you're going to get parsley. So if there's order in your thinking, you are going to have the outworking of what it is that you embed in your thoughts. Hand in hand with order is wisdom. Often in old material and unity is called judgment. This is our capacity to apprise, to evaluate, to discriminate through circumstances and situations so that we make correct and aligned decisions on what is truly going on and not allow ourselves to get stuck in appearances. This is piercing the veil of those appearances that could keep us going over the same ground, the same ground, the same ground, getting nowhere, and sometimes, unfortunately, getting further away from our source. Myrtle embedded this as evidenced by her ability to maintain enlightened objectivity about her life and her world, and then to generously go on and share her experiences with all. Imagine unable to breathe, and day by day allowing her healing to course through her body to bring her to her fullness. We have the same capacity regardless of what it is that we're dealing with in our lives. Then there's this will, this power of will. This is our executive decision-making, directing, choosing faculty of mind. And the highest expression of this is our willingness and our conscious consent to do what we discern to be the will of God in our lives. Myrtle's life exemplifies this beautifully because she used this faculty to keep herself focused on her relationship with God, following that guidance, modeling that behavior selfishly, selflessly sharing her true self. And the fascinating thing is when she had put God first in that order, all of these other abilities of hers came in alignment and supported her in this process. Then we have the gift of enthusiasm. This is one of my favorites because I notice that when I am doing things that make me feel good, I am truly on fire with God. That is the Greek word entheos. This is our energy, our intensity, our exuberance that we express when we're pursuing something that propels us forward, and especially when we're in the pursuit of something that we want to achieve. We can be unflagging, we can be tireless. This is our enthusiasm. And again, Myrtle's life demonstrated this because she had this fervent interest in knowing and speaking and experiencing more of the good that she was embedded with from her very beginning to her very end. Here's one of my favorites. I call on this one a lot. It's release. Anyone find that you have some kind of crazy thoughts that, again, keep you stuck? This is that capacity we have. In fact, it's an essential faculty where we can renounce, we can unravel, we can disempower, we can let go of all of the false and error beliefs that we may have been carrying around with us, whether we are conscious or unconscious of those error beliefs operating in our lives. I've used this example, I think Elizabeth may remember this. We have this capacity. You hear rain and thunder in the morning before you open the drapes in your bedroom. You think, oh, it's going to be a crummy day. That belief triggers your having a crummy day, has it not? But on the other hand, if we release the power of that rain and that thunder and that grayness to affect us, we literally open the way for us to experience the most amazing of days. So I kind of believe that this release power was the first one that Myrtle triggered. Imagine your whole life being told you are going to be experiencing this hideous disease. And she literally manifested that because she believed it. She pulled the belief from underneath that, and she began this amazing, transformative, and purifying process. Faith. Oh, you would like to share something?
Well, I do want to say that one of the best things that this woman ever said to me was when I was, and there were many, I could put them on, needlepoint them on a pillow for you someday. But one of the best things that she said was when I was having trouble at work and I was stuck in a disagreement with a person, I didn't really care for them and all of that. And Nancy said to me, well, remember, darling, almost everything good starts with darling. Remember, darling, elimination is a divine power. And so I started eliminating those thoughts, and I started eliminating that there was any discourse between this person and I, and within a few weeks, they got a new job. Just saying.
It works. It really does. And I do it a lot, especially in the grocery store. There's our power of faith. This is our perceiving power. This is our insight. And it was fully activated in Myrtle. This is where we trigger our knowing and our feeling. We're in the balance of those two energies. When she perceived herself in the kingdom of God and placed herself in it, contrary to what at that time was manifesting in her life, it was her unwavering faith that supported her manifesting into the visible that which seemed to be impossible. We can do the same. Again, back to that holy instant that Myrtle had. Her power of understanding. This is that ability that all of us have to transcend intellectual knowledge and have it be replaced with a direct perception of truth. This is our intuition. This is the Spirit speaking to us. This is the power that assists us in making sense of all of our powers, and to know, as she did, that divine mind underpins all things. Then there's life. That gift that restores, heals, mends, procreates, regenerates, vitalizes, and energizes us. Having made way for the presence of Spirit, Myrtle truly embodied this, becoming this astounding and complete expression of pure eternal life. And as a side note, 2 years after her complete healing, Myrtle had another child. Talk about extending life. Then underpinning and interwoven with all of these faculties is love. This is our ability to know our oneness with all and have a genuine desire for goodness to come to all of them. This is our greatest gift because it heals, harmonizes, renews, prospers, and unites us. It casts out our fears, our loneliness, our selfishness, and brings us into unity with our source. Clearly, Myrtle felt and knew God's love for her, which allowed her to totally and unconditionally accept herself and all others as emanations of the design. And it was from the love that she demonstrated for us and fully expressed that we now share these truths and bring them actively and consciously into our lives.
So there you have the 12 powers on your sheet here. And as you think about your life and go through it, I encourage you to find how you can use this, how this can go in your little toolbox here, and that you might root around in here and find a new tool to use to a situation that you're stuck in. So if you've been, for instance, applying tons of love to a situation, but it's not really switching for you, perhaps there's something that you need to imagine about this situation. I love to start with the power of imagination sometimes. How could I see this completely differently? What if there were no limitations on what were possible here with money or time, and I could just imagine something, and then that shifts how I am feeling here. And that cascades through my body, through my day, through the choices, through the things that I'm able to see, because I'm different within here. And again, these are never things that just instantly happen like that. What sometimes gets lost in Myrtle's story is that it took 2 years for her to do this. It wasn't an instantaneous healing, but it was something that she put the time and effort into. And these powers, especially when we use them consciously on an issue that we know we want to work, if you can bring this into the light. So take a moment and think about one issue in your life that you would like to shift. Whatever the first one is, just grab that. And then look down and see which power jumps out at you. Mine was enthusiasm. There's one that may jump off the page to you. If one didn't come, just pick one. You can't go wrong. Pick any of the 12 and discover how you can use that. And so let's just say that I'm continuing on with looking at the struggle of looking at what's happening in the world, because that's pretty universal. So I see the world is upsetting me. The world is messed up and upsetting me. Is that a good affirmation for me to hold?
Cancel, cancel.
Cancel, right, okay. So I recognize, okay, I've got some feeling here. I don't need to deny it, but wow, look at me reacting here. All right, so I now let go of my worries about the world. I release the power of worry in my life, and I imagine a new future for all of us. And then I individually start living into that future that I'm imagining. It's now not the people in Washington that need to do it. It's me. It's direct, it's concrete, it's what's getting into my mind that needs to be shifted, and using one of these powers to change the only thing I can change really, which is myself first. And then I'm able to go out into the world. Or perhaps I am in a relationship that isn't working for me. And I say, oh, I'm so upset about this person, I don't like this quality and this quality and this quality. And I can say to myself, I now release my focus on what's wrong here. And instead, I bring life, I bring love and understanding to this relationship. So let me open up a little bit of love and see if I could understand why things are going the way that they go. So again,
Take this, put this on your refrigerator, put your issue, and use Myrtle's beautiful affirmation. Say it for us again.
I am a child of God, therefore I do not inherit blank.
I am a child of God, therefore I do not inherit worry about the world. I am a child of God, therefore I do not inherit relationship problems. I now choose blank. I now choose blank. You are in charge, and you get to decide. And we have been blessed by a writing by Debbie Rosales. Debbie, would you stand? This is Debbie, and she writes amongst other things. And she wrote something this week, and when I read it, it struck me as, boy, if we use the 12 powers, this is what the world could look like. Bending the world. If through our visions we can reveal the heart of mankind, and if we will then shine our light on what is precious and holy, be mindful of other people, and honor them as well, we will have done our soul's purpose. Let us not wait for heroic and conspicuous gestures, but rather look more carefully for those small daily kindnesses, those rituals of bonding and sharing that show us people revering life, revering each other. Our sensibilities are assaulted daily by a press consumed with fear and destruction, heartbreaking photos of a world run amok with negativity. We are berated with this, it washes our days. Record humans take their own lives in suicide. They invade our dreams. The shadow of humanity makes the news, while the light goes unnoticed. The good is unrevealed. So I encourage you to choose to let your dreams and your light be about spirit, and the world will have to bend in that direction as well. Thank you, Debbie. Boy, the kids are ready early, so sing fast. We now have a chance to bless this community. I will say a line, I'll have you repeat after. We'll kind of speed up because I want to honor the children that are waiting, and they're waiting so patiently. Divine love through me.
Divine love through me.
Blesses and multiplies.
Blesses and multiplies.
All that I am.
All that I am.
All that I have.
All that I have.
All that I give.
All that I give.
And all that I receive.
And all that I receive.
And let us now enter into this time of meditation. And as you gently close your eyes, if that's comfortable, or have a soft gaze with your focus, we now turn within. We go into this inner sanctuary. We close the door to the outer world of daily concerns and let go. And I notice my breath coming and going fully on its own. I am infused with the power of life, always present, in perfect divine order. I breathe in, out, in, out. And as I release that breath, I let it all the way out to breathe in again. And as I notice this breath, I also begin to let it go. Any thought of making it happen. And I experience it. I watch it. And slowly I notice that I am it. am right here in the middle of this breath, this perfect moment. I am sitting, I am breathing, I am aware, I am blessed. All concerns melt away. Concerns live in the past. They live in the future. They are not here. God is here. Love is here. I am here in this precious time. With faith in the breath that breathes me, I go within to rest in silence, to be, to be. This is a healing time. I have sent healing into my body and my mind, and now I share that out into this room. The energy of oneness is here with us. We are one in this moment of silence. And then it spreads out into our families and friends and co-workers, the people that we serve. This energy, this oneness, this love goes out into every corner. And so it is.